Hey everyone, my name is Webba. I am a freelance video editor and videographer. This channel is all about video editing, how to start video editing, how you can make a career out of video editing. And in today's video, I have my friend who is also a fellow video editor named Tom, who really got me into the space of freelance video editing. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to get started, how we did it, how we're doing it as a career now, and how ultimately you can do it as well. So I hope you all enjoy this video. Be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, of course, if you're new around here, and hit that bell so you're notified, of course, when we upload new videos here about video editing and everything film related. We hope you enjoy, so we're going to get into it right now. Okay, so before we get into my journey, obviously, since you're like my guest per se, just take me back into time when you took that leap into like freelance video editing. How long was that decision like premeditated, or was it kind of just like, I'm gonna do this now?
Yeah, well, firstly, it feels such a long time ago, but it was only 2 years ago, and back then I was working full-time, as you know, in a sales role, and I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot from the sales role that I was doing, but ultimately it just wasn't for me. And deep down, there was always a passion for all things video, and I really enjoyed everything video editing related, because, you know, I was doing stuff on the side for YouTube at the time for our, me and my partner's YouTube channel. Well, fiance now, we're obviously engaged,
Yeah.
but back then we were just a couple, but that was a few years back now. We haven't done anything for that channel for a while, and the passion just grew. And at that time, obviously I was just in that job that I really wanted to. I started thinking to myself, I'm not enjoying this, and I want to be doing something that I do enjoy. So I started thinking about, what do I enjoy? And I thought, well, I really enjoy the video editing aspect of what I'm doing so far with YouTube, and I've done loads of other things in the past, just like in my spare time, just for fun, with, you know, playing with video. And I just thought, how can I make this into something? And I just started thinking, you know, I've seen a lot of people doing freelance, and I was very used to using LinkedIn then at the time as well, because I was using it for my sales role. My sales role actually taught me a lot about LinkedIn, because I used to contact their customers on LinkedIn and talk to people, and that's how the company I work for, you try and spread the word a little bit and gain more clients.
That's how you became a guru at LinkedIn.
Yeah, so that's when I signed up to LinkedIn. So in my sales role, as I said, I learned a lot in that role. I learned a lot about LinkedIn. I learned a lot about how to talk to customers, like over the phone and email. I was talking to people all the time. I learned a lot about in terms of like invoicing, because I was in charge of my own kind of my own kind of area sales. So I was selling stuff, so I was always invoicing, I was quoting, so all that stuff was really good to learn. So I'm really glad I had that on board. But going back to LinkedIn, yeah, I'd learned a lot then, and I thought, you know, loads of people are posting things on LinkedIn with regards to, you know, roles, jobs, and it's a big networking site. And I thought, you know, freelance could be for me. Freelance could be a thing that I could jump into. So I give it a search, found 2 clients quite quickly, started working with them on a part-time basis. At the time, I didn't have a reel to show them, which, you know, it is always tricky when you're starting out, when you don't have a reel.
Yeah, it is.
People want to see an example of your work. So I just sent them the channel. They then could see that I could edit. That was enough. So they said, you know, that I signed some contracts, and I got them both on board. And then that was the start, really. And then as the months went on, it was about June, July 2018. As the months went on, I thought to myself, okay, I've got them 2. I was at a point where I think I got a 3rd client I'm still working with today, a client from New York. And I thought to myself, okay, these 3 clients now I found really easy, you know, well, okay, it was a bit of it's not like easy, you do have to put in a bit of a graft and like keep searching, but I found them. And I thought, I found three. I think there was a fourth person I was speaking to, but they didn't become a client in the end, but it was a possibility. And I thought to myself, if I found these people, who else can I find? And because I was working full time, I couldn't take on any more at that moment. I couldn't take any more clients on. Because obviously I was working 9 till 5, coming home. I only had the evenings to fit in work and then weekends. So I thought, if I want to dive into this, I've got to full on dive into it. I've got to take it and give it a go. And I just thought to myself, now's a great time. I mean, we just moved into our house, but at the moment we didn't have any big huge responsibilities, like anything like children at the moment, or we had good savings behind us. We just moved in. We were pretty comfortable with everything, and I just had this confidence that I thought, as I said, I found those clients to begin with, and I thought, if I carry on that method of searching using LinkedIn, who else can I find? And that just excited me, to be honest, Will. That really excited me, and I just really then enjoyed the challenge of it. And over time, clients started coming in more and more. And, it just grew like that, really. So that's my story. Starting out anyway. It was probably similar for you, right?
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, for me, I think before I got to like freelance video editing, it was kind of, I was working at Whole Foods, and then I started doing Lyft. But in between those times, I always knew, for the most part, just because I did YouTube so much, I knew I could do video editing and get paid for it, since, it takes a while to get paid from YouTube for video editing. And I was like, okay, I just have to figure out a way. How can I do this? Because at first, before I talked to you about LinkedIn, I was looking on Facebook at the time, like a lot, and the groups. I even search sometimes like video editing into like the search bar just to see, like, it's a lot. Yeah. It's kind of similar how we look for work now. But I was doing that on Facebook, looking at posts, trying to see like, okay, when is the most relevant time someone has talked about needing a video editor for X, right? So I did that a lot. Didn't really have luck with it because, Facebook is it's like, it's okay. I'm sure some legitimate work can come out of it, but in comparison to LinkedIn, I don't think the two really can correlate. No, right? So literally anytime I could get during my break at Whole Foods, even when I was on a clock sometimes, honestly, I was looking for like work some way, somehow. But fortunately, you definitely pointed me in the right direction on getting on LinkedIn, getting set on there, having my reel on there, a description about my skills, just everything about me, literally making my profile, and then how to find work. So literally the time I knew where I could finally like jump and just let go of Lyft completely was when I was working with Louis, which is a client that you helped me find. You remember Louis? That project was crazy. It was honestly, I feel like it was a challenge for a reason, because ever since that challenge of working with Louis, I promise you, every other client that I've worked with, if I ran into a problem with the project or I couldn't make their vision come to life for some reason, literally I just remember that project and I'm like, if I can get through that, I can get through anything. That's honestly exactly how I feel. So like the Louis project, which happened in, I think, December of 2019, is when I also got on a call with you, and I was like, Tom, I was literally like, bro, I don't know what he's asking for. I showed you like his email, then I showed you the project. I was like, what is he talking about? Because he's not communicating well for me to be able to put 2 and 2 together to make his vision come to life. So, but anyway, after I got through that by the help of you and, you know, Cindy, I was like, okay, like now I was like, I need something else maybe to get the ball rolling, because you know, the amount of money that I made from doing that edit for Louis for the month, I was like, there's no way I could ever make that in Lyft, bro. I could drive all night long every day and I still wouldn't come close.
No, not a
You know,
chance. No.
right. So, and that showed me, like, with video editing, you know, honestly, you know, 25 an hour, or that's really good money. And here too, I think here too, like in the United States, that's good money in most places. So I was like, okay, I need to find something. And that's where I found, you know, Nick, where he made a job on Indeed that talked about needing a video editor. And this is a connection I made through YouTube like 2 to 3 years ago, maybe longer, before he made the job post about needing a video editor. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I immediately like messaged him and I was like, Nick, I saw you need a video editor for your channel. Like, you obviously know what I'm about. You see my videos. I actually helped Nick way back in the day for free. Like, I didn't charge him nothing when we were in the bloggers of YouTube.
Okay.
And to those of you who may not know what that is, that was just pretty much a channel where a bunch of YouTube bloggers came together. And pretty much we were trying to build a community and, you know, just trying to help where we can for each other, because we were all small YouTubers, right? And so with Nick, it didn't really like take long. I met with him once and he was like, okay, let me think about it. And then he just told me like, yeah, you're the person for the job, because of my history, though. That's the thing. That
the connection. Yeah.
Right. It's the connection. And what probably a lot of video editors need to hear that may be watching is that you have to put in the work for free first before you can get paid for it. You got to be able to show something, which more than likely has happened for free, before you can get paid for it. Because of my reel in the YouTube channel, you know, me and Cindy making videos together, that's what gave me ultimately the job, because, you know, the skills were already laid out for him to see over time. So once I got Nick, I ultimately knew like, okay, he may be like, you know, a guy who's going to give me a steady check for video editing, right? 8 hours a day. I was like, but still, I think there's still room to build upon that. And I think after Nick, I can't really remember what my next client was, but I do remember I was always in the mode of trying to look also for other clients, just because of, you know, when you got one client and, you know, something happens with, you know, what happened with, I don't have to say his name, but with what happened with that, I lost the job.
Any client could drop you. That's
any client.
The thing, yeah. We could get onto that with pros and cons at some point as well, but that would be one of the cons.
Exactly. But I mean, that pretty much wraps up my story for getting into video editing. I think the pressure really got on when I moved out my parents, and I was like, you know what, I want to do something I love, and, you know, and just utilize my skills in a way, because that's what I'm good at, right? Just the whole film process, I just love it. And video editing in particular, you know, I've been doing that for free for so long. So I was like, it just makes sense to get paid for it at this point, right?
Yeah. Just clicked into place. Let's say people are watching and they're just starting. No, let's say they're just starting out, or they are thinking about starting out. What would you say are the must-dos for, you know, taking that leap, and what you should be careful of and what you should look out for? What would you kind of, off like personal experience, what would you ultimately say to that?
Yeah, so the must-dos for people who want to hop into freelance video editing, and I mean freelance in general.
It could be freelance in general, yeah.
Yeah, in general, for whatever. Make sure you have some sort of safety net in place for your jump, like a savings behind you, you know, some living expenses in your bank account. And make sure that maybe that you already have something lined up, like me. Because before I stopped doing Lyft, I had Louis, which was the client, and I knew he was going to pay me so much more than I could have done with Lyft, and I couldn't Lyft and do the project at the same time. I knew it. So maybe once you have like that safety net of a client that maybe pays the same as your job, I would say go ahead and take the leap, because at least you know you have income for about a month or two. And in between that time, guess what you can be doing? You can be looking for your next project. So ultimately, I think it's about having like a savings. And if you don't have a savings, make sure you definitely have like a client already who's paying you very good. And if you've been at your job for a while and you know it's time to take the leap, because that could literally be the opportunity that's trying to make you take the leap. And then ultimately, I would just make sure, like, obviously, you know, you have the skill sets, you have some work that you've already done for free, compiled together. And again, this goes outside of video editing as well, something to show like clients.
YouTube is a good one, like we said.
Yeah, YouTube is a great one. And listen, if you don't take anything I say, just take this. Just have a savings behind you and already have some work that you can show a prospect. That's really all you need. Because, you know, if you have 3 months worth of living expenses, you can take a jump for 3 months and be comfortable because you know you got a savings to back you to pay for stuff. And by that time, if you're really hustling, you know, something will come eventually.
Yeah. Those are some really good points. And I think when it comes to like looking at taking a leap as well, and do you know those people that they're probably, let's say for my example again, I was in a full-time job and you're kind of looking at it and you're thinking, should you leave the full-time job and jump into it? You know, making that decision. When people look at that, I think the ultimate question you got to ask yourself is, whatever position in that time in your life you're doing, do you have a passion for it and are you enjoying it? And if the answer is no,
right,
that's also a good indicator that you should take the leap. But like you said, there's other things that come into play. You know, you've got to make sure you're financially stable, of course. And again, like I did, slowly roll yourself out into it. Like I said, I had those clients on a part-time basis to begin with, the free clients. So once
that's awesome. Three clients.
Yeah, but once you start getting them on a part-time basis, as at that time I was comfortable of finding more. Once you get into that position, it then comes along a lot smoothly, and you kind of, it almost helps to take the leap then once you get clients on board. But things like YouTube channels and everything are really good as well, because my YouTube channel was my showreel, I guess, to begin with. There was a long time I went on not having a showreel to begin with, because the first 2 clients I picked up, I couldn't actually show any of their footage because it was confidential. I had to sign an NDA for. I couldn't show any of it, so I could just tell people that I'm working for them, and that was it. I couldn't show it, so I had to use my YouTube channel for a while. So that's a good thing when you're starting out. If you don't have that showreel, use YouTube. It's so easy to like just put things together on there.
Right, it's honestly so easy. That is such great advice. And I would say, like, okay, so like now that you've said that, what would you say is like the pros and cons of like video editing? Just so people now have the knowledge of, okay, I know what to do before I go into freelance video editing, or, you know, freelance in general, for whatever, you know, people's skills may be out there. They know how to make the jump now when the opportunity presents themselves. But what would be the pros and cons of going into it?
Okay, so pros and cons of going into the freelance. Okay, let's start with pros first. You're essentially in charge of yourself. You're the decision maker. You can decide when you work, what you work on. You decide if you want to keep hold of a client or if you want to let go of a client, everything like that. So, you know, you're your own boss. It gives you a lot of flexibility. So, you know, say if one afternoon I suddenly need to put everything on hold because there's an emergency. I mean, a lot of places, if it's a good company you work for, they should let you go and leave the workplace when it's an emergency. But there are some other companies that might be a bit more not too happy with it. But when you're a freelancer, you work for yourself, you don't have that issue, you don't have that worry. you know, if you suddenly need to drop everything, you can then drop it and go off and do something. So again, flexibility.
Maybe, yeah.
That's you know, another thing I do like about it. And not just that, it gives you the flexibility to work where you want it as well. If you have a laptop and you're working on your laptop, you can work at home. You can go and work at the coffee shop, the local coffee shop, you know.
Right.
Or you could rent, if you like an office, you could go and rent out your own office and have your own little office.
Which is awesome.
If you need space away from home, because a lot of people might get distracted working from home. I know a lot of people are getting more used to it now because of COVID, right? And working from home is becoming more and more of a norm. But there still might be people out there that like getting away. So you know, there is that as well. And for me, another pro is because video editing can be so creative. I love that. So I love you know, when a project comes in and it's like, okay, what is this? What do I have to do here? And trying to work out how you're going to edit it. And then another project comes in the next day or so, and it's something completely different. And I just love that challenge. So if you're someone that likes a bit of a challenge, and you like, you know, you like creativity, you like you like that process of, you know, cutting up a video, and whether it needs like color grading or it needs some motion graphics on there to, you know, piece it together. I just like I like that aspect of video editing, you know, seeing how the raw footage looks and then how it looks once it's complete.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's another pro, but that's more obviously specific to video editing. I'll move on to some cons now. Obviously, one con then, which we just mentioned, was a client could drop you at any moment. And like you said, that's important. And well, we've both been through this. We both worked for a client. You got dropped a bit earlier on it was around about, what, March time was it or so? 2018, was it?
Yep, it was like April.
Then I finished working with him then it was just before I took Emily to Rome and proposed to her. It was just before September. Yeah.
Both horrible moments.
Yeah. I know, because you just moved into your apartment. And
I just moved.
I was just going to Rome to propose.
Exactly. It was horrible moments on both sides.
And this client was a pretty much full-time client, wasn't it? It was pretty much Monday to Friday.
Yeah.
Every day. So this is what I'd say to, like, you know, freelance. Like, if you go into the freelance world and you want to take on clients, you can have clients that come in maybe one day a week or maybe once a month, or they might just come in here and there. But then you have other clients that might be more on a part-time basis, and you have other clients that eat up the whole of your week. And sometimes it's good to balance those all, like have a bit of everything, because if you have that one big client that you're working Monday to Friday with pretty much on a full-time basis, as soon as they drop you, you're then like, oh, okay, that's my whole workload gone. So you suddenly have to really look out for more work to come in. So having multiple clients there is a good way to kind of tackle that, because as we've both experienced, when you lose one client that's, you know, providing you that much work on a weekly basis, it's a sudden shock, and you take a while to recover from it.
I think maybe a con for freelance video editing can be sometimes like you don't know your limits. Sometimes you have to fill it out, because it's not like, okay, so you got a job as to where it's like 8 hours, right? And you know what it's going to look like at the end of the month. Sometimes a con can be like you're trying to get your income to a point where you can make sure you can take care of everything you need to at the end of the month. And sometimes that may require you to do more because you don't have a constant like flow of work. So you're having to deal with different things at different times. That's the thing. So you're dealing with one person, then you got to do someone else's video. And sometimes that can just be like, you know, it's a lot. It's a lot at first, like when you're first getting into it. But also it is kind of fresh because you're working on new things. And I kind of feel that as to where, you know, I'm kind of doing the same videos and I'm like, okay, I need to do something new. To be like, you know, something fresh. To
break it up, And that's another reason why I like multiple clients, because everyone's different. You might have your clients that produce the same type of content every week. But then there's other clients, like a client I work for called Komodo. They work with influencers, they work with fashion brands.
Yeah.
So all their videos are always completely different. And I really enjoy that whenever they hit me up with a video. So yeah, that flexibility in work, in like the type of work that you're doing, the type of videos you're editing, I think is important as well, because it just keeps your brain a bit more like busy, doesn't it? And you know,
it does.
As you said, if you do one type and the same type every day, all week, it just can get a bit too repetitive. So yeah, it's like, I guess that's a con, but we kind of almost turned it into a bit of a pro then with that advice as well.
Well, yeah, we did. Okay, so that one's kind of like in between, but a con for sure would be the constant pursuit of looking for work, you know, because there could be like a month where it's just like slow. You may have your clients, but you have to constantly be pulling the trigger of like, okay, I got to look for more work. I got to look for more work, unless you know,
and
it's ongoing.
You can have what I often say to you in a voice app. Sometimes I send you a voice message like, I'm like, bro, I've got a dead week. And that can happen, and 1 month can just start really slow, but you have to be proactive, and you have to send a message out to an email out to all your existing clients to see if anyone's got any potential work coming up, because sometimes that can work. People just forgot to let you know about it, and they'll be like, oh yeah, actually we do have something, you know, lined up for you. And then if that doesn't work, if no one's got anything lined up for you, you have to jump back on LinkedIn and do that process of just trying to be proactive and find new potential clients, just to fill in that gap. So yeah, that can definitely be a con as well, the quiet times. But sometimes, you know, you have your quiet times, then you have your absolute manic times, and that's just I guess another part of being a freelancer as well. But it's nice when they balance out. I like having a more steady week where it's kind of, you know, Monday to Friday, not going over 5 or 6 p.m. and trying to have the weekend free, which I'm working really well on doing at the minute.
Yeah, I know that it's, and also we've been doing much better on working on the weekends too. That's and good. I think that's so important, man, because you need
the break.
You need that downtime always, because
you need to refresh.
Yeah, people that work, you know, jobs, they don't have to work on the weekends usually, and you shouldn't, honestly, because that should be a time for family, hanging out, chilling, working on like side projects that are like your passion projects per se. That's what I believe. I
have another con that's just I've just thought of, which has happened to both of us again. Is a client can either not pay or pay really late, and then it kind of messes up your monthly
That's
wage.
The worst. That's the worst.
So again, that's another thing, part of being a freelancer.
It's scams too.
Scams, yeah.
That's a big one. We just went through that literally of like someone scamming you, saying, you know, it's a great pay per hour. Then they're like, oh yeah, just buy this or buy that for your work, and you're like, what? I'm not doing that, you know. And it's literally wasting your time from finding legitimate people to give you, you know, a fair check.
You had a company try and get you to pay for an iPhone and a tablet, didn't you? An iPad.
Yeah, Cindy did. Yeah, they wanted her.
It just didn't make sense.
It just didn't make sense, and they literally were a scam. We did research on them. They had horrible reviews on the Better Business Bureau, and you know, people were like saying they haven't received their items that they ordered. It just looked totally disorganized, and I don't know, was someone copying the company? But now,
maybe.
I think so, maybe in that regard. Because when I look on the Instagram, I don't really see any problems like with the company. People are saying great things about it. It's not fake. They're verified. So, you know, unfortunately, you got those scammers. And can you believe it, in the midst of a pandemic? That's what I mean. That is a huge con that you all should look out for. Be very wary of people that are, you know, it's either they scam you or it's like you do the work. Yeah, find ways to do it, or they don't pay you for the finishing of the project. That's why we often say here, like, hey, pay me this up front, and then you can pay me the rest. upon completion.
What do you think is the best solution to tackle people that either don't pay at all? I don't think I haven't had anyone not pay me, but I've had late payers, and I've had someone.
Yeah, you have.
I've had someone nearly not pay. You remember? And I had to say, you know, I had to threaten them to take them to court, and you know, I put late payment fees on the invoice as well, which were unnecessary if they come on time. What do you think the best way to tackle that, really?
I think the best way to do it, especially from that experience, is just like telling them straight up, like, listen, you got to pay me something up front. Mm-hmm. Like, because that's also a motivator for you to get the job done. I think it works both ways. Yeah. One, for the client, it shows that they're legit about the work that you're about to do, and that they can pay you. Mm-hmm. And then two, for you, the money that you get is a motivator to finish the project to get the rest of the money. But then you're also like, okay, they're serious because they paid me up front, so it'd be kind of dumb to pay me this and not pay me in the end.
Yeah.
So I think the best way with any client is, can you pay up front and pay upon the completion of the project? Now, it's a little different if you see they have good reviews. Maybe they worked with other video editors that you can talk to. That's a little different. I might make an exception then, because then, the proof is kind of in the pudding. I'm like, okay, like, they got a good track record. People have said they enjoy working with them. But if I don't really know them, to be honest, I mean, at least for me, for the last client I worked with, which was a guy named Michael, and I edited a trailer for him. I told him, like, would you mind paying me 50% up front, 50% upon completion? And I told him my experiences. I said, it's nothing personal. I've just been scammed when it came to this. And he did it. So
yeah, you've got to do it sometimes. Another good thing to look out for is contracts as well. If that potential client has a contract for you to sign, sometimes that is, like, I feel like they're more likely to pay than someone that doesn't. And
that's true.
What you can do is, a lot of contracts have payment terms on it. It'll say when they pay. It might say they may pay 7 days later, or 14 days later, or at the end of the month. So if they break that and you sign that contract, and you do need to take them to court in the end if they are late, or that they don't pay, that's proof that they're breaking their own contract then. So I feel like, if there's a contract there, that also is like kind of that just cements it a little bit. But I think if you get into a position where the person's late and it's just getting later and later and later, I think from my personal experience, you just got to keep at it. I had a client and I just kept emailing. I rang his personal number. I found out connections of where he worked, you remember? And I was ringing those places. And in the end, he thought, I can't. Obviously, he got a bit stressed, didn't he? Because I was ringing these places. But he was not paying, so I needed to do that. But he had late fees put onto his invoice because of it. That's another thing you can do that can make your clients think, okay, he's not messing around. They put late fees on. And you're entitled to do that, and it's actually legal to do that in the UK. It's actually all right to do that in the UK. They actually say on the government website, if your payment is over 30 days, it's then classed as late, and you're applicable to then put the late fee on there. So use that if ever clients are late paying, because it helps in situations. Then it puts that little bit more urgency on, because they're probably then thinking, I don't want to continue keep having late fees. They're not going to want more fees on top, are they? So but it's the worst, isn't it, sometimes? That's
so true, man. And I think, like, overall, I think everything that we said, this is such valuable information to anyone who wants to dive into freelance, but especially freelance video editing. I guess we're going to wrap it up here, right? Pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, y'all. So I hope you enjoyed or learned something today from what Tom and I discussed with our journeys of becoming freelance video editors, how we broke into it, how we're continuing to do it, and where we plan to go in the future. If you did, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe, of course, if you're new around here, or if you aspire to be a freelancer of any sort, but especially a freelance video editor. And comment down below if you want more videos like this, where we discuss anything about video editing or anything freelance related that could help you on your journey, because I really do feel like from video editing to anything freelance, it really does go hand in hand because they're just so similar. Yeah, with that being said, I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoyed this.